Ambassador Kethavar's mandibles clicked with barely concealed amusement as he reviewed the human delegation's application for the third time. The pale, bipedal creatures sat across the obsidian table with expressions that their species called hopeful, an emotion the Zelthani found quaint at best. "Your species wishes to join the Galactic Council," Kethavar stated, his translator rendering his words into the primitive human language. "Yet your military assessment is concerning." The human representative, Admiral Sarah Chen, maintained her composure despite the obvious condescension. "We believe humanity has much to offer the galactic community." High Counselor Vexithul of the Drakmari Empire leaned forward, her scaled features twisting into what passed for a smile among her people. "Your weapons are chemically propelled projectiles. Your ships burn fossil fuels to escape your gravity well. Your fastest vessels require decades to reach your nearest star." She paused, letting the weight of humanity's technological inadequacy settle. What could you possibly offer beings who traverse galaxies in mere cycles? The other council members, representatives from 17 advanced civilizations, murmured their agreement. The Zelthani had energy weapons that could glass planets. The Drakmari possessed ships that folded space itself. The crystalline Vorthari could manipulate matter at the molecular level. Humanity, by all accounts, was still playing with chemical rockets and nuclear fission. "We understand your concerns," Admiral Chen replied evenly, "but we request the standard probationary period to demonstrate our worth." Kethavar's compound eyes glittered. The standard probationary period lasted 50 galactic cycles, barely enough time for humans to develop meaningful space infrastructure, let alone military capabilities that could impress the Council. "Very well," he announced. "Humanity is granted provisional status. You have 50 cycles to prove your species deserves full membership. Until then, you are under the protection of the Council, but may not vote on galactic matters." The unspoken message was clear. Humanity would remain a curiosity, a primitive species to be observed and perhaps pitied. They would never pose a threat to the established order. The human delegation departed, and the Council moved on to more pressing matters. 47 cycles later, long-range sensors detected an anomaly in the Sol system. What the readings showed seemed impossible. A massive energy signature unlike anything in the galactic databases. "It's definitely artificial," reported sensor technician Yilmoth, his tentacles dancing nervously over the controls of the Zelthani monitoring station. "But the energy output, it's enormous. Bigger than a Drakmari dreadnought." Kethavar studied the data feeds with growing unease. The humans had been remarkably quiet during their probationary period. Intelligence reports suggested they'd been building something, but Council analysts had assumed it was merely infrastructure, space stations, mining platforms, the typical expansion of a newly spacefaring species. This was something else entirely. "Send a reconnaissance fleet," Kethavar ordered. "I want to know what those primitives are building." Captain Zexhai of the Drakmari Fleet Inevitable Conquest had expected to find humans fumbling with crude orbital factories. Instead, as his ships dropped out of fold space at the edge of the Sol system, his breath caught in his throat. Rising from Earth's moon was a vessel that defied everything the galactic community knew about human technology. It stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, its hull a seamless blend of materials that seemed to absorb and redirect light in impossible ways. Energy readings suggested power systems that shouldn't exist outside of theoretical physics textbooks. By the 7 suns, his tactical officer whispered. "Captain, those aren't chemical rockets." Indeed, the ship's propulsion signature indicated something far more advanced, possibly even exceeding Drakmari technology. As the massive vessel turned to face the reconnaissance fleet, previously hidden weapon ports began to open along its hull. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer reported. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the view screen, but she looked different now. Gone was the diplomatic humility from their first meeting. In its place was the quiet confidence of someone who held all the cards. "Captain Zexhai," she said, somehow knowing his name despite never having met him. "Welcome to the Sol system. I trust you're here to witness humanity's readiness for full council membership? What? What is that vessel? Zexai demanded. Chen's smile was sharp as a plasma blade. The Terran Defiance, our first true warship. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Oh, and Captain? She's not alone. On cue, sensor alarms screamed as 17 more signatures appeared throughout the system. Not just ships, entire battle groups, each centered around vessels, comparable to the Defiance. The humans hadn't just built a warship, they'd built a fleet. How? Zexai breathed. You see, Captain, the Council made an interesting assumption about humanity. You assumed that because we were technologically inferior when we applied for membership, we would remain so. Chen's image was replaced by technical schematics that made the Drakmari's blood run cold. What you didn't account for was our species' greatest strength. We learn, we adapt, we improve. The data showed impossible advances in metallurgy, energy, generation, propulsion, and weapons technology. Somehow, in less than 50 cycles, humanity had not merely caught up to galactic civilization, they had begun to surpass it. Every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, every piece of humanitarian aid the Council provided. Chen continued. We studied, we reverse-engineered, we innovated. Did you really think we'd waste our probationary period building museums? Zexai's mandibles clicked frantically as he transmitted the encounter to the Council. The response came within minutes. An emergency session had been called. The Council chambers had never been so quiet. Representatives from 17 civilizations stared at the holographic displays showing humanity's new fleet with something approaching terror. The energy signatures alone, High Counselor Vexthal whispered, suggest weapon systems that could threaten our homeworlds. How many ships? Someone asked. Current count is 47 battle groups, Kethvar replied, his voice hollow. And they're still building. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just joined the galactic community, they had positioned themselves to potentially dominate it. Every strategic calculation, every assumption about the balance of power had become obsolete in a matter of cycles. A new transmission arrived from Admiral Chen. This time she wasn't requesting anything. Esteemed Council members, she began, humanity formally requests an immediate vote on our full membership status. Given recent developments, I'm sure you'll find our application much more compelling than before. The vote was unanimous. As the session ended and representatives began the grim task of recalculating their civilization's defense strategies, Kethvar reflected on a bitter truth. The Council had declared humanity weak, without understanding what weakness truly meant. To a species that had clawed its way to the top of its planet's food chain, they had mistaken humanity's current limitations for permanent ones. It was a mistake they would never make again. In the depths of space, the Terran Defiance continued its patrol, a steel testament to the simple truth that had escaped 17 advanced civilizations. Never underestimate a species that views the impossible as merely another problem to solve.